The importance of the lean startup and why people should read it. Every generation of entrepreneurs faces the same burning question. How do you turn an idea into a successful business? For decades, the conventional wisdom was to write a detailed business plan, raise as much money as possible, build a perfect product, and then launch it with fanfare. But again and again, this method led to wasted resources, failed products, and crushed dreams. In 2011, Eric Ries gave the world a different answer with his groundbreaking book, The Lean Startup. The importance of this book lies in its radical shift in mindset. Ries argued that startups are not smaller versions of big companies. They are experiments. Their mission is not to execute a rigid plan, but to learn quickly, cheaply, and continuously. The central idea of the lean startup is that success comes not from guessing right at the start, but from systematically testing assumptions, gathering real feedback, and adapting based on evidence. This simple but powerful shift has revolutionized entrepreneurship around the world. At the heart of the method is the build, measure, learn loop. Instead of spending years perfecting a product that may or may not succeed, entrepreneurs are encouraged to create a minimum viable product, the simplest version that can be tested with real customers. Then, they measure how people actually respond and learn whether to persevere or pivot. This approach reduces risk, saves resources, and increases the odds of finding something that truly meets a need. Why should people read The Lean Startup? Because its lessons go far beyond Silicon Valley. The principles of rapid experimentation and validated learning apply to any new endeavor, from launching a tech company to creating a nonprofit, writing a book, or even starting a personal project. In a world defined by uncertainty and change, the ability to test, learn, and adapt quickly is the ultimate competitive advantage. Consider how many brilliant ideas never see the light of day because their creators wait until everything is perfect. Ries exposes this perfectionism as a trap. Customers don't care about perfection. They care about solutions to their problems. By releasing early, listening deeply, and iterating quickly, you avoid the tragedy of building something nobody wants. The importance of the lean startup is also cultural. It challenges the myth of the lone genius who succeeds through intuition alone. Ries doesn't dismiss vision, in fact, he insists on it. But vision must be paired with discipline. Inspiration must be tested against reality. The book democratizes entrepreneurship by showing that anyone with the right process can improve their odds of success. You don't need endless resources. You need a mindset of learning. Moreover, the lean startup is not just about starting businesses. It's about building organizations that remain innovative at every stage. Ries shows that large companies too can adopt lean principles to stay agile and avoid stagnation. That's why global giants like General Electric, Toyota, and Intuit have embraced the methodology. Its relevance spans industries and geographies, proving that the ability to experiment and adapt is universal. But perhaps the greatest reason to read this book is that it restores hope. Too often, failure in entrepreneurship feels final, crushing. Ries reframes failure as learning. Every experiment, even one that disproves your hypothesis, brings you closer to the truth. This mindset turns setbacks into stepping stones. It encourages resilience, persistence, and creativity. In short, the lean startup matters because it replaces guesswork with a process, fear with experimentation, and waste with learning. It equips dreamers not just to dream, but to build wisely. And in a world that desperately needs new solutions to pressing problems, its message is clear. Stop waiting, start testing, keep learning. That is how ideas become impact. Who Eric Ries is, his life and philosophy. Behind every breakthrough idea stands a person who has lived the struggle firsthand. Eric Ries, the author of The Lean Startup, is not just a writer or theorist. He is an entrepreneur who has walked the unpredictable path of building companies, experienced failure and frustration, and distilled those lessons into a framework that has empowered millions of innovators worldwide. Born in 1978, Ries grew up with a fascination for technology and problem solving. He studied computer science at Yale University, where he began experimenting with his own projects and startups. Like many entrepreneurs, he was brimming with ideas and ambition. But his early ventures taught him a humbling truth. Great ideas alone are not enough. Execution matters, and execution must be rooted in reality, not assumptions. Ries's most formative experience came in the early 2000s with a startup called IMVU, a social networking and avatar platform. The team worked tirelessly for months, coding complex features they believed customers wanted, but when they finally launched, they were shocked. Customers ignored many of those features, and some even confused them. The team had wasted countless hours building things that added no real value. This painful lesson became the seed of the lean startup. Ries realized that startups must learn as quickly as possible what customers actually want, not what founders assume they want. From this point, his philosophy began to crystallize. Startups are not smaller versions of big companies. They are experiments searching for a sustainable model. The goal is not to execute a flawless plan, but to discover what works through rapid cycles of testing and learning. This mindset led to the creation of concepts like the minimum viable product MVP, the build, measure, learn loop, and validated learning. What makes Ries compelling is his humility. He doesn't present himself as a genius who had all the answers from the start. He openly admits his failures, showing how they shaped his insights. This honesty makes his philosophy relatable. Entrepreneurs around the world saw themselves in his struggles, the late nights, the wasted energy, the painful mistakes. His gift was to turn those struggles into a practical system others could use. Ries's influence quickly spread. In 2011, he published The Lean Startup, which became a global phenomenon. It wasn't just startups in Silicon Valley that embraced it. Nonprofits, government agencies, and Fortune 500 companies began applying its principles. Ries went on to found the Lean Startup movement, which organizes conferences and workshops to spread these ideas globally. His later book, The Startup Way, expanded the philosophy to larger organizations, showing how even established companies can stay agile and innovative. At the heart of Ries' philosophy is continuous innovation. He believes that in a fast-changing world, the greatest risk is not failure, but standing still. Startups, businesses, and even individuals must constantly learn, adapt, and improve. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the process of discovery. By embracing experimentation, we unlock creativity and resilience. Another core principle of his life and work is customer focus. Ries insists that entrepreneurship is not about pushing products, but solving real problems for real people. The sooner you test your idea with actual customers, the sooner you uncover the truth. This humility, letting customers guide you rather than assuming you know best, is central to his philosophy. Finally, Ries embodies the belief that entrepreneurship is for everyone. He rejects the myth that only Silicon Valley geniuses or venture-backed founders can innovate. In his view, anyone trying to bring something new into the world, a teacher, an activist, a small business owner, a corporate leader, is an entrepreneur. And all entrepreneurs can benefit from the principles of lean thinking. In the end, who is Eric Ries? He is a teacher forged in the fires of startup life, a thinker who turned failure into a framework, a leader who gave entrepreneurs worldwide a process to turn uncertainty into opportunity. His life and philosophy remind us that success is not about being right from the start. It is about learning fast, adapting with courage, and persevering until the vision becomes real. The purpose of the Lean Startup. Every enduring book has a heartbeat, a reason it exists beyond words on a page. The purpose of the Lean Startup is as practical as it is profound: to give entrepreneurs a scientific process for navigating uncertainty, reducing waste, and turning ideas into sustainable businesses. Eric Ries wrote it not as a theory, but as a survival manual for anyone trying to create something new. Ries saw a problem. Too many startups failed, not because their founders lacked passion or intelligence, but because they wasted precious time and resources building products no one wanted. Traditional business thinking told entrepreneurs to plan extensively, raise funds, and then launch big. But this approach was fatally flawed. In a world of rapid change, by the time a product reached the market, it was often already irrelevant. The Lean Startup was born to solve this problem. The book's purpose is to replace guesswork with validated learning. Instead of betting everything on assumptions, entrepreneurs are urged to test their ideas in the real world as quickly as possible. By building a minimum viable product, MVP, measuring how customers respond, and learning from the results, founders can pivot or persevere with confidence. This loop, build, measure, learn, is the engine of progress. Its purpose is to turn uncertainty into discovery, chaos into clarity. But the purpose goes beyond methodology. At its heart, the book exists to redefine what it means to be an entrepreneur. Ries wanted to dismantle the myth that startups are glamorous gambles driven by lone geniuses. Instead, he shows that entrepreneurship is a discipline, one that can be practiced, taught, and improved. His purpose was democratization, to empower anyone, anywhere, with a set of tools to increase their odds of success. Another important purpose of the book is to shift how we think about failure. Too often, failure is seen as an endpoint, a shameful result. Ries reframes it as feedback. Every failed experiment provides data, bringing you closer to the right solution. In this way, the book's purpose is to build resilience in entrepreneurs, to encourage them to keep learning instead of giving up when things go wrong. The Lean Startup also serves a broader purpose, changing how organizations innovate. Ries wanted not only to help small startups, but also to transform large companies plagued by bureaucracy and slow decision-making. By applying lean principles, even established organizations can stay agile, experiment like startups, and avoid stagnation. This is why the book has been adopted not only in Silicon Valley, but also in global corporations, nonprofits, and even government agencies. On a deeper level, the purpose of the book is about hope. Entrepreneurship is daunting, filled with uncertainty and risk. Many dreamers never begin because the odds seem stacked against them. Ries wrote The Lean Startup to offer a way forward, a method that makes the unknown less terrifying, that shows progress is possible even in uncertainty. Its purpose is to give entrepreneurs the confidence to start, knowing they have a compass to guide them. Ultimately, The Lean Startup exists to change the narrative of innovation. It tells us we don't need perfect plans, massive funding, or flawless execution from day one. What we need is courage to start small, discipline to learn quickly, and humility to adapt continuously. Its purpose is to empower builders of all kinds to stop waiting for certainty and to begin experimenting their way into the future. The key lessons of the Lean Startup, how to apply them, and real-life illustrations. When Eric Ries introduced the Lean Startup to the world, he wasn't just proposing another business methodology. He was offering a new way of thinking about creation itself. Startups, he argued, are not about gambling on intuition or rigidly executing a business plan. They are about learning under conditions of extreme uncertainty. The genius of his approach lies in its ability to transform failure into feedback, risk into discovery, and uncertainty into progress. The book's core lessons form a roadmap that any builder, whether entrepreneur, leader, or dreamer, can follow. The first lesson is the build, measure, learn loop, the heartbeat of the Lean Startup method. Traditional thinking says, build a complete product, launch it, and hope customers love it. Ries flips this on its head. Instead, you build the simplest version, the minimum viable product, MVP, release it quickly, measure real customer responses, and learn from the results. Then you repeat the cycle, each time improving based on evidence, not assumptions. Dropbox is a famous example. Instead of building a complex platform first, its founders created a simple video demo showing how the product would work. The response validated the demand before a single line of complex code was written. This principle applies far beyond startups. In our personal lives, we often wait for the perfect moment or the perfect plan. The Lean Startup teaches us that progress begins when we act, test, and learn. From here flows the second key lesson, validated learning. Success is not about being busy or building flashy features. It's about learning what customers truly value. Many entrepreneurs measure vanity metrics, downloads, clicks, buzz, but these don't guarantee real impact. Validated learning requires asking the hard questions. Are we solving a real problem? Are people willing to pay for this? Do users return after their first experience? Consider Zappos, the online shoe retailer. Before investing in massive inventory, founder Nick Swinmurn tested demand by posting photos of shoes from local stores online. When someone bought, he went to the store, purchased the shoes, and shipped them himself. This scrappy test validated the idea before scaling. The lesson is timeless. True progress comes not from what we think we know, but from what reality teaches us. The third lesson is the power of the minimum viable product. The MVP is not about being lazy or sloppy. It is about being focused. Entrepreneurs often waste years perfecting features customers never wanted. The MVP forces you to strip your idea to its core and test only what matters. Think about how Amazon began. Jeff Bezos started with books because they were easy to catalog and ship. That narrow MVP proved the concept of online retail before expanding to everything. In our personal projects, the MVP mindset frees us from perfectionism. Want to write a book? Start with a blog post. Want to launch a service? Test it with a few clients. The MVP teaches us to start now, learn fast, and grow deliberately. Another core lesson is the discipline of pivot or persevere. At some point, every startup faces the question, are we on the right track, or do we need to change direction? Pivoting is not failure, it is adaptation. Instagram began as Burb, a check-in app cluttered with features. When the founders noticed users only loved the photo sharing aspect, they pivoted and became one of the most successful apps in history. On the other hand, perseverance is equally vital. Sometimes the data confirms you are on the right track, and the lesson is to keep pushing through the hard parts. The wisdom lies in discerning the difference. For us personally, pivot or persevere shows up in careers and goals. Do we continue on the same path, or do we shift direction based on what we've learned? The lean startup gives us permission to change course without shame, and also the courage to persist when evidence shows we're onto something real. Linked to this is the concept of innovation accounting, another critical lesson. Traditional accounting measures success by revenue and profit, but startups often don't have those yet. Vanity metrics like downloads or followers can be misleading. Innovation accounting measures true progress. How much have we learned about what customers want? And how has that learning reduced uncertainty? For example, a startup might measure the percentage of users who return within a week, or the conversion rate from trial to paid. These numbers reveal whether the business is moving toward sustainability. Personally, this concept invites us to measure what really matters in our own growth. Are we learning? Are we becoming more effective, more aligned with our goals? Or are we chasing surface-level validation that looks good but means little? Another profound lesson is entrepreneurship as management. Ries challenges the myth that startups are wild, unstructured adventures. In reality, successful entrepreneurship requires discipline, not rigid bureaucracy, but lean, adaptive management. Leaders must set clear hypotheses, design experiments, and foster cultures where learning is valued over ego. This is why large corporations like GE and Intuit embraced lean principles. They realized innovation can't thrive on structure alone. It needs agility. For individuals, the message is simple. Don't confuse chaos with creativity. Discipline and experimentation together produce innovation. The lean startup also emphasizes the role of continuous deployment and rapid iteration. In the old days, products were launched in big, infrequent releases. Ries advocates for small, frequent updates that allow constant feedback. This principle has reshaped software development, but its lesson applies everywhere. Progress is not one giant leap, but many small steps. Kaizen continuous improvement is the secret to lasting innovation. In life, we don't need to overhaul everything overnight. We just need to keep iterating one experiment at a time. Finally, Ries teaches us that failure is not the enemy. Waste Island startups fail not because they dared to try, but because they wasted resources on the wrong things. The lean startup reframes failure as data. Every failed test teaches you something valuable. Waste, on the other hand, comes from ignoring feedback, clinging to assumptions, or building what nobody wants. The lesson is liberating. don't fear failure. Fear spending your life on the wrong path without learning. Real-world stories bring these lessons alive. Dropbox validated with a simple video. Zappos tested demand before scaling. Instagram pivoted into greatness. Even Toyota's lean manufacturing principles inspired Ries's ideas, showing how small experiments lead to global transformation. And beyond business, these lessons empower individuals to approach life as an experiment. Test, learn, adapt, grow. Taken together, the lessons of the lean startup form a powerful framework. Start small, test quickly, learn deeply, pivot wisely, measure what matters, manage with discipline, iterate continuously, and embrace failure as feedback. Whether you're launching a company, writing a book, or transforming your personal habits, these principles apply. The real gift of the lean startup is not just tools, but a mindset. A mindset that says, don't wait for certainty. Don't waste years perfecting in private. Don't fear failure. Instead, experiment boldly, learn relentlessly, and keep moving forward. Because the only true failure is failing to learn. The final takeaway, lean thinking as a way of life. When you finish reading The Lean Startup, something profound shifts in how you see the world. You realize that building a business or pursuing any dream doesn't have to be a shot in the dark. It can be a disciplined, scientific, and deeply human process. The core truth of Eric Ries's work is this: success is not about guessing right the first time. It's about learning faster than everyone else. The final takeaway is simple yet radical. Treat life as an experiment. In startups, the build, measure, learn loop is a method for survival, but in life, it is a philosophy of growth. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment, you take action. Instead of fearing failure, you embrace feedback. Instead of clinging to assumptions, you let reality guide you. This shift turns uncertainty from something to fear into something to harness. Think about the alternative. Too many entrepreneurs waste years perfecting ideas in secret, only to discover nobody wants them. Too many individuals put off their dreams, waiting for clarity or courage that never arrives. The tragedy isn't that they fail. The tragedy is that they never truly test, never truly learn, never truly begin. The Lean Startup calls us to end that cycle. The book also reframes how we see failure. In the lean mindset, failure is not the end, it is data. Every test that doesn't work teaches you something valuable. The only real failure is wasting resources without learning. This perspective is liberating. It frees us from perfectionism and fear, giving us permission to try, to pivot, to keep moving. Another powerful conclusion is that innovation isn't reserved for Silicon Valley or billion-dollar founders. It belongs to everyone. Ries reminds us that anyone creating something new, whether a nonprofit leader, a teacher reimagining education, or an artist experimenting with form, is an entrepreneur. The Lean Startup equips all of us to build with agility, resilience, and purpose. And finally, the book leaves us with a vision for the future. In a world of rapid change, the organizations and individuals who thrive will not be the ones who plan perfectly, but the ones who learn continuously. Progress will not come from clinging to old models, but from embracing lean thinking as a way of life. The future belongs to the learners. So here's the challenge. What dream have you been putting off, waiting for the perfect plan? What idea have you been polishing in private, afraid to test? What assumption have you been clinging to instead of confronting reality? The time for waiting is over. The lean way is to start now. Build your MVP. Run your first experiment. Gather feedback. Learn, adjust, and keep going. Because in the end, the greatest risk is not that you fail. The greatest risk is that you waste your life building the wrong thing, or never building at all. The Lean Startup is more than a book. It is an invitation. An invitation to step into the unknown with courage, to embrace learning as your compass, and to build a life and a future worth living. Subscribe to Awaken Greatness for more inspiring lessons, and comment below to share your thoughts.